Alright, Gator Harley-Davidson's here, and they're going to take my bike up for the first service, my black Electra Glide, and he's going to let me ride this Revival. The owner said I could ride it 5 miles to do a test for YouTube, so I think this will be the first riding test on this the Revival that anybody's seen.
It's beautiful.
It's a shame I could only ride, what do you say, 5 miles, the guy said.
Jerry, go ride it as many miles as you want.
Yeah, sure. I'll put 50 miles on it, and then the guy who's nice enough to bring it down here and let me ride it, it'll be all over the internet what a rotten bastard I am.
I'm telling you, no, go ride it. Why wouldn't you? Go put as many miles on it as you want.
Yeah. Why would you say a thing like that?
Because I bought it for you.
I know that this bike. What do you mean you bought it for me? This bike was sold before it ever came in. I called up there and they told me that it was sold, and they're only getting the one.
No, the guy backed out of the deal, hon. They called. I said yes, I'll buy it. There you go. I even have the registration. You don't believe me? It's all yours.
Let me see.
It's all yours, honey.
You really did this without telling me.
Yep. Why are you mad?
Because you should tell me when you do stuff like that.
Well, I got the money for it.
Where'd you get the money from?
I sold the RV.
Then why is it still here?
Because the guy's picking it up next month when he makes his way to Florida. So everything's paid for. It's yours.
Yeah, there's just one little problem.
What?
I bought one as well.
What?
From Newport Richie.
What?
Yeah, it hasn't come in yet, but it should be in this week. So now we're going to have 2 of them. This is all your fault because you want to surprise me. I hate surprises. It's a nice gesture. I appreciate that. But now we're going to have 2 of them.
Well, I don't know what to do. Well, then I'll have one and you'll have one.
You can't ride it. The seat's too high.
Well, I'll figure it out.
I can't believe this. You should never do stuff like this without telling me.
Well, surprise. You didn't tell me. What am I thinking? So it goes through you.
It's different. It's different. You do things like this without telling me. You shouldn't do. I'm happy. I'm glad you did. The thought was nice.
Paid for. That's the best thing in my book. It's all bought and paid for. It's yours. Happy early birthday.
All right. I guess this is not such a bad dilemma. But you should have told me.
All right.
This sure looks like impact blue to me. Looks like the exact same color. I know that sometimes you have a run of motorcycles and then 6 months later you have another run, same color. That could be off half a shade. But regardless, they did an excellent job with this motorcycle. All right, folks, I'm taking you along on the very first ride. I was a little worried about the seat might be too high, but I think with the kickstand extension on it, my wife will be able to reach it. She'll probably be on tiptoes. But because she knows how to use the proper techniques, being flat-footed only comes in handy when you're backing it up. And I found it's pretty easy to ensure that you never have to really back up your motorcycle unless you're backing out of the garage. Now, because this bike has the 16-inch tire on the front, and that gives you a better ride than the lower profile 18 or 19-inch. On the police bikes, they have a 17-inch on the front. But that combined with the spring seat, it really, really rides nice. It is definitely a noticeable difference from my police bike with the 17-inch and just using I have a regular seat on the police bike. That's sits on the frame as all stock Harleys. I just noticed the gauges are different. There's a white outline to the gauges. That's nice. And this is number 1355 of 1500. First time I saw this bike, I said, they hit it out of the ballpark with this. Excellent idea. Everybody loves nostalgia, and especially me. Didn't think I would be able to get my hands on one, let alone two. But sometimes things just happen, and they happen for the better. In this case, the fact is, I wanted to buy one. I called Gator Harley-Davidson, and they hadn't got it in first. Hadn't got it in yet, but they said it's already sold. I said, well, you never know, something changes, give me a call. In the meantime, the local dealer here at Newport Richie, I went down there, they said theirs didn't come in yet, and it's not sold yet. So I put a deposit on it. I didn't tell my wife. I should have told her, but I didn't tell her. Now, I'm pretty sure I did it before she did, but I put a deposit down, signed all the papers. The bike is mine when it comes in. And from what I understand, Gator, as soon as the person who was going to buy this bike backed out, I didn't give a reason. I don't know if it was financially, whatever, but he called the office and said, hey, this bike is available. And my wife said, fine, I'll tell my husband. Well, she didn't tell me. She called him back and said, we'll take it. So, and didn't say a word to me about it. So when the guy pulls up with the bike, he was supposed to be the owner was going to let me take it for a 5-mile ride so that I could do a review for YouTube. He's a fan of mine, but of course there was no such person. My wife made up that scam, and the guy who dropped the bike off went along with it. Did a good job too. I was believing him. Very smooth. Lots of power, going 50, 54, 55 miles an hour in 5th gear, no lugging. I like the M8 motors. There's a lot less noise coming from the motor. That allowed them to turn up the exhaust just a bit. And a lot of times the first thing people do when they get a motorcycle, and I do it about half the time, is change the stock exhaust. But I think I'm going to keep this bike exactly as it is. I love the way it looks. I love the nostalgia look of the motorcycle. To me, it looks, unless you see it next to a 69 model, it looks just like an older motorcycle. If you see it right next to the 69, this actually looks quite a bit better. It's sort of more streamlined and lower to the ground than the older bikes were. And of course, with a much bigger motor, a lot more horsepower, a lot more torque, better suspension, better brakes. Yeah, the older bike, you know, if you got a completely restored one, it might be fun around town, but you wouldn't rely on it to take any kind of a trip with it. This is a thoroughly modern motorcycle. It even comes with the RDRS. For those of you who don't know, that's traction control, cornering ABS, rain mode, riding when it gets wet. And a neat little feature that I never thought I'd use, would come standard on the police bike as well, is if you hold the brake when you're on a hill, it holds the bike until you start letting the clutch out. I first found that I never thought I'd use it because I'm pretty good with the clutch and throttle, but in my driveway it's on a slight slant, so a lot of times when I'm fumbling for the garage door opener, I have to shut the bike off and make sure it's in gear to be able to stand up and get my hand in my pocket, get it out. But now all I got to do is hold either the front or the rear brake, press it down hard, and the bike doesn't roll. It is a nice feature. Now, of course, this has the radio system. I haven't had a radio on a bike in a long time. And a nav system, I can't play it because of the copyright stuff on YouTube. Now, of course, with the seat sitting up 4 or 5 inches above the frame, some might say it raises up the center of gravity. Well, that may be the case, but it doesn't mean a thing if you actually know how to use the proper techniques, because all police motorcycles sit up above, the rider sits way above the frame. And if you've watched any of the competitions or the rodeos or watched any of the stuff that I do, you know that center of gravity means nothing. I create the center of gravity with the clutch and throttle and a little bit of pressure on the rear brake. I make the bike go wherever I want it to go, whenever I want it to go there, simply by using those techniques. You can do the same. If you're not familiar with the techniques or police motor officer style training, you need to get my brand new video, Ride Like a Pro Experience. Best 20 bucks you'll ever spend on a motorcycle. You'll never worry about getting flat-footed on the bike or center of gravity or top heavy or any of that nonsense, because it doesn't mean a thing if you actually know how to ride the motorcycle. Even the smallest woman can ride one of these like a toy. You've seen my wife do it, Mary Ann Hamilton, and the little tiny Victoria Pierce, 4'10", rides the hell out of this motorcycle. She doesn't care anything about center of gravity. They know the techniques. That's all you need. Now, as usual, the M8 motor's got plenty of power, plenty of torque, and it's just as smooth as could be. I wouldn't want it any smoother than this, because I want it to still feel like a motorcycle, like a big V-twin American styled motorcycle. And that's what this is. And here they are, folks, both of them together. Two beautiful American style heavyweight motorcycles. I love the color combination. This is number 1355 of 1500 and number 1129 of 1500. By the way, the reason I'm doing this voiceover is because if you've heard my last couple of videos, we still have the Hawk families up in the tree squawking away. And I know that listening to that angers some people. And in one of the videos, I said, I think I'm going to shoot those birds. I was just kidding. I'm not going to shoot them. But I know it offended some people. I think some people just like to be offended, but I'm not going to shoot them. I promise you. A little poison, maybe. No, I'm kidding. It's a joke. But take a look at these motorcycles, folks. I think my wife has learned a lesson about surprising me. If you watched the beginning of this, I hope you did. I didn't want to seem ungrateful. She knows I don't like surprises. She knows she really shouldn't have sprung something like this on me. And granted, I should have told her what I was doing, but I figured I would surprise her. But I'm always surprising her with stuff like this. She never does it to me because she knows I don't like surprises. Not that this is a terrible thing. We have two potential collector items that we could ride and enjoy. They ride beautifully, handle wonderfully, very smooth, powerful motorcycles. Got the nav system and the boom box and all that. I'm not a big fan of that kind of stuff, but I've got it and I'm going to use it. So I hope you enjoyed this, and don't forget to subscribe, click that notification bell, because you never know what's going to happen here on the Ride Like a Pro channel. I never know either.